Hi, and Combo and I would like to welcome you back to our garden. Right, buddy? Here's the little man. Combo, say hi. Yeah, there he is. Okay. So we'd like to welcome you back to our garden, and I'd like to talk with you today about this combination that is here in my backyard garden, just outside my studio in this small little bed. It's in full sun, and it's in the kind of southwest corner, so it's getting plenty of sun. It is a small bed. I'd guess it's probably about 10 feet, 8 to 10 feet wide at the widest point, but it's kind of a I don't know, semicircular on this end, so it's not a big bed at all. 8 to 10 feet wide and maybe 5 to 7 feet deep. So pretty typical, to be honest with you. This might be a bed that would be typical of maybe a front entry at your house or something like that. But so I want to look at this and talk with you about this idea of repetition and variety, and that as it relates to combining plants, and the idea that, in my mind, some of the most successful plant combinations really have a good balance of repeating enough elements so that it's cohesive and it holds together, and enough variety so that it's interesting and dynamic and is fun to look at. So when we look at this combination here, a couple things that I'll mention is, one, I'm going to include a plant list, so in case I misspeak as I'm going through, or in terms of miss a plant name, or in case I don't mention them all, then you can refer to the list, and hopefully that'll fill in any gaps. So what do I see here? So again, from this context of looking at the vignette from a repetition and variety standpoint, first thing I'm going to look at is the plant forms and shapes, and the fact that we've got kind of a nice diversity in that respect. We've got some height there with the shrub. That's a hibiscus. That is a tree form. It's on a standard there. So one of the cool things about that in a small garden is that is kind of elevated up above the rest of the bed, so that we're able to grow things down below. So that's kind of neat. And to the far right, another part of that frame is there's a dwarf conifer there. It's evergreen and very strong and columnar, and it'll grow upright and be trained along that stake that you can kind of see there. Other evergreen elements of the bed are down there towards the bottom. We've got a Carex everillo there on the left, that golden yellow foliage, and then that phormium, that's called Jester right there, that strappy foliage. Both of those are evergreen plants and part of the all-season show. Not a plant, but kind of part of the structure, and worth noting is that trellis there. And the reason I bring that up is that I think it gives a vertical lift and some height, which I think is helpful in terms of just having a nice variety of shapes and sizes in the bed. And of course it is supporting that vine back there, which we'll mention in a second. All right, so that's looking at it from a shape and texture standpoint a little bit. And now looking at it and kind of thinking about what might be happening from a color standpoint. From back here, you can see that we've got purples and blue tones, and also a reddish magenta and pink is pretty prevalent. So those are the colors that are a continuing thread through this combination. And also from back here, before we go in and take a closer look, you can kind of see that, the red in particular, we've got obviously in the center, that's where it's prevalent, but we've got the little, it's repeated in two other kind of positions, like different planes, if you will. It's growing up on that trellis, and then we've just got the little dots of the color there to the far left. And then the blue is going to be on the shrub that's, we're going to call it our canopy, even though it's not really a canopy, but you know, it's the tallest part of our composition. We've got that, the blue flower of, that's a hibiscus, a Rosa Sharon, and we're going to go look at that closely in just a second. And then to the right and the left, we've got some blue as well. So lavender to the right there, and to the left we've got an agastache. So let's go in and look a little bit more closely at these individual players. And I'm going to kind of start from up here, and I'm going to look at this hibiscus in particular because I'm really excited about it. It's new in my garden this year, and I love its color. And I am trying to get an angle where you can see the inside of that plant, the flower, and you can see the deep magenta eye. I selected that hibiscus in particular because I wanted to have it speak to this rose here. This rose is a knockout red. To my eye, it's much more of a magenta pink, but those two are probably the most dominant and prominent plants in this vignette right now. And they're carrying the purpley blue and the magenta red. But those colors are repeated elsewhere in different planes and in different flower shapes. So the purpley blue is repeated just down here on this agastache. This is blue boa. And that lavender over on the far side is a lavender called, I think it's called Phenomenal. So this deep pink is in direct conversation with this little salvia right here. Same color, but these tiny little dots of color are not only on a different plane, they're kind of just a little froth around the base, but they're just much smaller. So they are a repetition of that same color towards the back, and also kind of adding to the vertical lift of everything that's going on is that little sweet pea. It's an annual. It's going to keep on blooming as long as I keep on deadheading it. So far so good. The pink is also carried by foliage. This phormium, this is called Jester, is also part of that pink story. And then there's also some dark foliage back there. There's my shadow in there. I don't know if you can see that. So it's kind of glary. I realize I missed the morning sun, and so hopefully this is going to develop okay and be not too glary so that you can actually see the colors. But before I sign off, I just want to show you a couple of different repetitions, different ways in which the color story is kind of reinforced. Some are quite subtle. I mean, look at this little echinacea. It's called Green Envy, and it's got the little pink around its eye. And I love it with the lavender. And there we go. So that is a little example of a vignette that is weaving a color story that I feel is cohesive and pleasing. And part of that, what makes it pleasant and energetic and fun to look at, is that it has a nice variety as well. So I hope you enjoyed this little close-up look at this planting combination. And so thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.